Some of the hardest moments with children aren't the big things. They're the tiny little transitions. And this might be leaving the park. It might be, if you give your kids screen time, turning the TV off. Or it might just be, okay, out the door, let's get in the car. Hi, I'm Jane, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to discuss the hidden reasons that transitions are so hard for children. First up, I want to explain that transitions are difficult because they require the brain to shift states quickly. And young nervous systems in our children are not very good at this yet. What's happening in the brain is that their executive function is still actually developing. It's not fully formed yet. And they have difficulty shifting attention from one activity to the other, which is where the transition takes place. So they might be outside playing on the playground, and then we say, okay, we have to leave now, let's go get in the car. So their brains are constantly involved and they've got an emotional attachment into that current activity that they're doing, and then they have to shift that and move on to the next thing, which will be leaving the playground, for example, and getting in the car. And this is where their nervous systems haven't fully developed yet at doing that themselves. So this is where the transitions ask children to move from one emotional state to another instantly. And that's where and why we can have the meltdowns and we can have tantrums when we are asking our child to move from one activity to another. Something that really helps with this is warnings. So we're giving our child a warning, and it might be that we are leaving in 5 minutes. So you've got 5 minutes left, enjoy the rest of the play, but we will be leaving in 5 minutes. Or it could be counting down for your child. Okay, we've got 10 minutes left. Or now we've got 9 minutes left. Now we've got 8 minutes. So you're really giving them that indication of a time frame, because they might be too young to really understand time yet, but you're assisting them with this process and letting them know that when we get to 1 and then 1 minute left, and then after that minute has completed, then we will be transitioning into another activity. And this is also helping them emotionally be able to adjust from what they're doing to the next one. So by giving them also predictable routines, that can be really beneficial as well. So they are knowing that, oh, mum or dad does this countdown every time, or they always tell us when there's 5 minutes to go. So that becomes predictable, and then they know, oh, okay, well now it actually is time to move on or to transition to the next activity or whatever they might be doing. So preparation really helps and assists the nervous system within giving it time to adjust from one experience to the next, so to speak. When children are deeply engaged with something they really enjoy, their brain becomes very focused on that particular activity. So shifting away from it requires a skill called cognitive flexibility. Now, this is a skill that actually takes years to fully develop within your child. So this is why it might be that your young child is struggling to switch their attention quickly, because they're very engrossed in the one activity that they might be doing. And then you're also asking them to regulate their disappointment, because they may have been enjoying that activity, and we're saying, okay, now it's time to leave that, or it's time to stop that and move on to something else, whether that may be just jumping in the car. But you're asking them from switching from one thing they're enjoying to something else that they might not be so much. So there's also managing that disappointment with their emotional disappointment. And it's also asking them to move from whatever they're doing, which might be quite fun and entertaining for them, to a responsibility. And that might be, okay, pack up your bags, let's go, we're moving on to the next thing. So it's kind of like a little scenario I like to give to adults. If we're engrossed in a movie, for example, it's kind of like someone coming in and switching off the movie halfway through. And that's what's happening to our brain. You might be feeling a bit annoyed or frustrated. Hey, I'm in the middle of this movie. What are you doing? That's exactly what's happening to your child, but they don't have the ability yet because their brain's not fully functioned. So neurologically, they're not actually able to understand and rationalize that. And that's when there might be an emotional overload. The nervous system takes over, their tantrum or the meltdown tends to begin when we're asking for that transition. So some other tips to help you might be to use playful transitions. So it might be, okay, let's have a race to the car. on your marks, get set, go. And then that shifts their attention into something else that they might find fun or interactive. Or it might be, if you've got younger children, hop like an animal. Let's hop like a kangaroo over to the car, for example. Or can you take me over to the car door? Can you walk me over? Do you think you could take me? So it's kind of flipping the script a little bit, so to speak. But that playful component just reduces the resistance into that part of the transition that they're experiencing. Also, validating their emotion is really, really important. I have touched on this in previous videos, but it's telling them that I know it is hard to leave, or I understand you're having lots of fun and this is difficult, but we do have to go now. So keeping those boundaries firm but gentle, but also validating what they might be experiencing in that particular moment. Another one is keeping routines predictable. So you're letting them know in advance, you're always giving them, for example, that 5-minute warning or that countdown, because when children have that understanding, they tend to cope better and they feel emotionally safer. And when they feel safe, that's when their nervous system is regulating optimally. So if this does happen throughout transitions for your child, remember that your child isn't being stubborn, or they're not being deliberately difficult for you. It's just that their nervous system doesn't have the flexibility yet to switch quickly, and their brains aren't also fully developed. So neurologically, it is difficult for them to just feel like they're maybe losing control of engaging in an activity that they're really enjoying and having to now focus and switch to something else. So they're not trying to make the transitions hard for you. It's sometimes hard to remember that in the moment, but trying to stay self-regulated for yourself, keep the firm boundaries and assist them with connection and with helping them stay regulated is really important to managing the change of these transitions. Thank you for watching today. I hope you got some tips from this episode. Stay tuned for next week, and I'll be covering more topics like this. Next week, I'll be discussing about how movement can actually help your child release frustration and anger. And it's very prominent for some particular children as a regulation language. So please subscribe and leave any comments if there's any topics in particular you would like me to talk about. Thank you.